Yeah, man, doing really well. Like I just did a podcast with another reactor, Mark Coleman, and it's been our third podcast. Like,
Oh
because
yeah,
but yeah, my idea is like I want to create like an Avengers team of like
yeah,
reactors.
of
Like,
reactors. That's smart.
yeah,
It's from a business sense too, because then you guys can pair up and share strategies and audiences.
definitely. Like from a business standpoint, it kicks ass, and also just from like a human standpoint, is because the fact is we're competitive creatures. If I don't reach out and help you, then you're my competition. That's the way that our brains are wired. It's like
Right.
no matter what industry you're in, it is difficult to get over competition because you get in this thing, you start looking at other people. You're like, okay, like I have my fucking targets. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, okay, I want to get to you, and then when I'm past you, I want to get to you. And it's this thing, and I realized that, and I was like, oh man, this is super unhealthy. Like this is really counterproductive. And if I literally reach out and I start helping people, then it's no longer competitive, and now we can kind of work together and push each other forward. You know what I mean?
Right. Totally know what you're saying. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. Same thing with me and artists. So fair enough.
How are you kind of navigating that with yourself?
So there's like I go to a music school with all musicians, so I'm surrounded by artists who are similar and who are artists all around me. But the good news is, dude, what I'm doing in general is actually so fucking niched, like rap and pop punk. But like even Machine Gun Kelly isn't.
Yeah.
He's not even he's not even rap pop punk. He like
Yeah, he's one or the other.
or he's pop punk. But here I'm rapping the verses and singing pop punk, and I'm like blending the beats too. So I don't. As of now, I know like one or two artists who are doing the same thing. Like that actually have like numbers behind them. So I mean, I'm sure there's people who are like doing it too that I just haven't heard of. But that I've heard of, one or two. So like the good news is I don't have too much competition in that realm. And any other musician, if it's a different genre, I never consider them competition because because we'll have different fan bases. My fan base is very niche, you know?
Yeah, I do know. And like, well, the cool thing about Machine Gun Kelly, and then you got like Mod Sun, who's kind of doing
Yeah.
something relatively similar. Is like actually like the song, like I think it's like My Ex's Best Friend.
Yep.
There is like a hip hop influence in the instrumental. Where
Right.
it's like the way Travis Barker plays those drums is there is like this almost trap influence. I don't know if trap would be the right word.
Dude, he does a lot of rap beats. Yeah, he works with a lot. Dude, Travis works with fucking everyone. Dude, like
Yeah.
he's on so many tracks. He's on like Lil Wayne tracks. Dude, I found him.
Is he actually?
Yeah, dude, he's on the Lil Wayne tracks. He did like Yellow Wolf tracks.
I love Yellow Wolf.
He's done a few Yellow Wolf tracks. And he's done like he's worked with fucking everyone right now. He's working with Jaden, the JXDN art. Like he works with Youngblood and fucking everyone. You know.
Yeah, I like Youngblood a lot too.
I love Youngblood.
Who is I obviously just by the way you're talking right now, I'm guessing that Travis Barker is someone down the line you're going to want to work with.
Oh yeah, for sure. Are we recording right now? By the way.
Yeah, dude. Hey, bro. This is a podcast. It's not question and answer.
That's so sick, dude. I thought we were just hanging out.
Yeah, this is literally, dude. This is the vibe. Like I follow a lot of Joe Rogan, so it's
Dude,
like I like
I
this
love it.
talk.
Dude, even as we're hanging. Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So yeah, I asked. It's like so Travis Barker. I'm guessing is someone you want to work with, right?
Yes, Travis Barker would totally be someone I want to work with. I think he's a super talented producer, super big in the pop punk realm. And from a from a producer standpoint, the dude makes hits. He's got like a ear for sure. So yeah.
And who else? Like I'm like. Because I find the cool thing about like Mod Sun, Youngblood, and MGK is they've kind of done within their realm what I'm trying to do with reactors. And it's like, I find that really cool. It's like, have you kind of looked at people in that industry that you would think of like working with one day, like kind of creating like a trifecta, like a team of people, almost like even like Tom McDonald and Brandon, his buddy, and like, you know, they have this trio, and I find that cool. I really like that cross pollination kind of idea. I just podcast is built into podcasting, because the whole thing with podcasting is if I get an Aubrey Marcus's podcast and we do a podcast for my podcast, then I do a podcast for his podcast, and then like you end up like helping each other out, growing this like spider web of friends in a sense. So is like there anybody that you're thinking that like you'd like, okay, I'd love to down the road work with him or her or anything?
I would say, yeah, you know what? And the crazy thing is that's already being formed. Youngblood, Machine Gun Kelly, Travis Barker, Mod Sun, all of these guys that we had just mentioned are already all working together. You see them kind of cross pollinate,
Yeah.
and dude, I'd love to get in on that if I could connect with them. That's the whole dream, is to be able to connect with them and then work with any of them, and then eventually join that. Because technically, I'd like to think that what I'm doing is different. It's a different approach than these artists are taking. I don't ever want to be like taking someone else's work. And at the same time, I think it would fit well with the group. So that's like the group I'd want to join. And that connection, that group goes bigger too. There's like a bunch of other artists part of that, like Jaden or JX, Jaden with the X.
I think I've heard of him, but go on, keep going.
He's part of that too. And there's like, even like, that circle seems pretty big. I don't even know if Little Huddy's in that. I'm sure you know Little Huddy.
Nah, dude, I am outside of the rap game, man.
No. Little Huddy's actually not. He's not a rapper. He's like a TikToker that became a pop punk artist. Because he's doing really well with it. Like because pop punk is the most popular genre right now. Or at least it's on its way to that.
Is it? Because I know MGK is like blown up like crazy. Like I did a full album reaction to Hotel Diablo, and like I love some of the songs in that. Man, like I think my favorite MGK song is like Gone, Hollywood Whore, and actually I love his Nothing Inside with Ian Dior.
Yeah, of course.
Love that track.
The MGK fan. No, actually, so it's not even just MGK. I did one of Will Smith's daughters. Do you know what Will Smith's daughter's name is?
Willow, right? Willow.
Did you hear her song "Transparent Soul"?
No, never.
It's pop punk, and it's like doing really well right now. And it's pop punk, right? And she's a pop punk artist. So yeah, and so on top of that, there's like I said, Jaden, who also blew up from TikTok. Little Huddy's pop punk, dude. And there's so many new bands that are also pop punk that are like popping out right now. The music industry in general goes through waves, and I think
100%.
Yeah, of course. And so in 2010, there was like that big rap and trap wave, and I think trap is kind of on the decline. I would argue, and I think pop punk is on the incline. So I'm very interested to see where things go because everyone's making pop punk right now.
Yeah, that's cool. You have a cool like kind of ear for the industry, and yeah, like everything does come in waves. Like you even got like the classic rock wave coming back with Greta Van Fleet and stuff, kind of taking a bit of that market share and stuff. And and you made a comment earlier too. Like you were like, I don't want to take other people's ideas. And that's an interesting comment because the fact is you're all like whether you know it or not, you're taking someone else's idea because there's only so many notes, there's only so many scales, there's only so many melodies you can even do, and you're influenced by things subconsciously or consciously. And I know what you mean, but right. I even think like because there's one artist, Hands Like Houses, where they wrote a song and he was talking about how he was kind of having these anxiety attacks. He's like, every idea has been done before. Where do I fit in? And it's kind of like, I thought about that a lot. I'm like, I don't think you have to be new because you'll never be new. Everything has been done before. But what you can't, like, this is what I've been thinking about a lot, even with myself. Like I think I'm a pioneer on YouTube in some sense because I'm mixing almost podcasting with reactions and then almost like therapy sessions and psychological analysis through my stuff. So in one case, I'm like, I'm a pioneer. But in the other, again, what am I doing? I'm just taking Joe Rogan reactions, mixing them together with a bit of psychology. Like when you get away from needing to reinvent something and just do what you love. And the fact is, because a lot of like nobody looks at you. Like if I listen to your music, nobody's going to listen to you and be like, oh, I like this guy's music because of X, Y, and Z. No, they like your music, period. And then after they've established or just feel that they like your music, then they try to define why they like your music. But that's actually not why they like your music. They just like your vibe. The vibe is way more important than, what tangibly on paper makes you you. It's like if you throw that out of the window, it's just vibe. And as soon as like you don't overthink it that way, as soon as you get it really simple, it's like just do you, and you'll find a niche if like, you know, if you're any good. Like obviously, but we both know artists that in my opinion are, I would barely call them music, and they're huge. So
Right.
even then it's like, but I think good music lasts forever. That's my hypothesis at least.
Absolutely. I think there's like two things tailing off that. Number one, everything has been done. So the most important thing I've found as a musician is just not to overthink things. That is literally it. Everyone just
Exactly.
overthinks. Like, dude, and you know, the hardest thing to not overthink is like the song that you're writing. Sometimes you'll be like, are these lyrics like too corny, or are these lyrics? But dude, if you think about it, like some of the stupidest fucking lyrics ever have just gone huge. So it's really not about like overthinking your lyrics or trying to write lyrics in a way. You just write what comes, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I honestly think the best way to do it is just go with your gut, not dissect it. That is the main point I wanted to get, was just that you just don't overthink things. There's a second point I had, but I totally forgot it.
Well, that's cool. And like I'm with you 100% because, and feel free to interject if that second point comes in. But that's exactly it. Because like the thing is, like even me, like I overthink things. There's like I made a video yesterday, and at like 2 hours after the video is done, I was like, "Fuck, why did I say?" Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, man, I shouldn't have said this. Or, but then I'm just like, dude, like, just like it came to you.
Right.
It came to you. That's you. What are you going to do? Like censor yourself? Because the moment you tell yourself you can't do X, that is not you anymore. You've just, because where'd that thought come from? Usually that's like someone else's idea. You're basing the criteria of your worth off of an external source, because the only time that you are completely basing it off of yourself is when it just comes through you. Right?
Dude, you know, on that note, the craziest thing you're talking about, this is kind of the side subject and what I was thinking about my second point. Dude, the body is, by the way, my language doesn't matter, right? If I just say
no. Say whatever the fuck you want, man.
Yeah, okay, good. No, dude, like I heard this phrase, like the human body is a medieval motherfucker. And what I got out of this is like when you start thinking you can't do something, not only like we're talking about manifesting a career, right? It starts affecting your career. Now, the craziest thing, this is a crazy off-topic connection, but like singing. So your vocal cords have such a like, there's such a correlation between thinking you can hit a note and actually hitting the note versus like, you know, like thinking you can't hitting the note, you won't hit it. Dude, it's all about the mind. What I've learned from singing, because I've been taking vocal lessons for the last like 3 or 4 years and really studied vocals, which is super interesting. Dude, that's like it's it's crazy psychology. But
it's fascinating, but keep going.
Point being, I used to think my range was really small, and because of that, my range was really small. But I realized I have like a wide range, and my range is slowly increasing. And it's not at practice, it's important, but it's not even I know it's not the practice. It's literally this whole mind game of being like, I'm able to hit those notes, and relax body, just hit them. Because what happens is when you think I can't hit those notes, you put stress on your body, and your vocal cords kind of like, you create tension, and singing is the art of no tension. So like that whole, like what you think happens is like super applicable to singing in the body. I know that's super off topic, but I was like,
hey dude, my life is off topic, man.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, super interesting, you know?
Yeah, well, I even find singing, like I studied singing too, because I'm like a polymath. Like I just find things, like I studied novel writing, singing, even though I've never written a novel. I sing to music. I love singing, but I've never actually like trained in it in a real sense. Right. Well, even I find it really fascinating, just the different way you use your mouth to shape vowels. Like if you sing me, it's different. Yeah. It's different than singing may. Because if you look at all of the best singers in the world, David Draymond of Disturbed, just like all these amazing singers, you'll never hear them sing me. It's always may, because it opens it up. It has that grand, big feeling. And like when I learned that, I was like, that's cool, man. And you notice the moment you switch that, your vocal range just increases like crazy.
Dude, singing is so technical. Like the shape of your mouth matters, like the tension in your throat, like the way you are breathing, your breath, like such a complicated thing, dude. Yeah, good point. The vowel shapes is super interesting regarding singing. So yeah. What's that? So that's so cool that you studied that. You're a jack of all trades, man.
Yeah, I'm obsessive. That's just my nature.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
I just, first of all, I have ADHD, so that helps me a lot in life because my mind is always finding connections to things.
Right.
Like that's the whole thing. Like that's how I define ADHD. Is like a lot of people think ADHD is this disorder. It's like it depends on your terminology, but when I think of ADHD, I think of a hyperconnective mind. So it's like Joe Rogan, ADHD. Like anybody like Russell Brand, ADHD. Anybody who's like a highly creative person likely has some sense of ADHD because I feel like ADHD is hyperconnectivity of the right and left centers of the brain. Because the right brain really would be like the side of ADHD. Your left brain is linear thinking. And then a lot of the time, like what art is you're taking an idea that's formed in the right side of the brain, and then you're bringing your linear rational mind and dissect it into segments, which is what musical notation is. And when you're like the first hypothesis of an idea is always right brain because where does it come from? You don't know. It just kind of channels through you. And then you go and you dissect it, you verse, chorus, bridge, guitar solo, whatever, however you want to like work it. But I just find that interesting. Like the right and the left hemispheres kind of have to be in tandem to create art that lands in our world today, if you know what I mean.
Actually, I don't because this is the first time hearing about this. I'm super interested by that whole left brain, right brain. Like, and I'm in my life, I realize I dissect music down to the like in art becomes like a technical skill because you dissect everything about it. But I never really thought about the correlation between the brain and the sides of the brain with like and the effect of that on writing and singing and music. And very interesting, dude. New stuff to me.
Yeah, chances are you're probably a highly right-brained individual. I can already tell just by talking to you because we've hopped between.
How would you know? What gives that away that I'm right-brained?
We've hopped between 10 different ideas in the last 20 minutes.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. I know who I'm talking to. If after 20 minutes we're still talking about the same thing, I know you're a highly linear left-brain thinker. If you hop around, if we're on really different topics, and if we're finishing each other's sentences and adding to each other, and the simple fact that I can say something, you can hop on that within a millisecond, branch out to something else, and I can hop on that and branch to something else. That's like a right brain dance. Where someone who's left brain, they actually can't add to my thought pattern because I've taken them off the track that they were going down. And you'll notice if you're talking to a left brain thinker, every time you step outside of that box, they bring you right back in that box to finish their next segment. Where if I can actually take your idea and even bring it more into something else, and then you bring that into something else, that's a highly right brain individual.
So I always thought that right brain had to do with like being more like a logical and left brain being more artistic. Is that just like a wives' tale or?
No. It's actually inverted.
Inverted. So okay, I'm pretty sure that's like what people talk about is the right being that and left brain being created. That's so interesting that
I might be fucking high right now and I got it mixed up. But
are you high right now?
No, I'm joking.
Oh, okay, that'd be cool if you were.
Yeah, either I'm like I honestly, I definitely, I smoke cannabis, but I wouldn't on this because if I smoke cannabis, like I can't focus on a single idea for more than like 20 seconds. Like
wouldn't that be pretty fun? Like imagine like a high, yeah.
It would if I made it very clear from the get-go, we're having a high podcast.
Can we do that?
Oh yeah, for sure. We can definitely do that in the future.
I love that. Like it's just
100%. I'm like, but bro, that conversation is going to like Mars, man. That's gonna be.
That's why I'm saying we should do it. I'm sure people would love that. People would love to yeah. That
especially my audience because I have a highly kind of spiritual. Yeah. So right brain is visual and intuitive, creative, and left brain is logical.
That's so weird that it's flipped in my head. But that real quick that. To go back to the topic, as we were talking about going back to a topic, dude, I have to finish the weed one. Dude, let's please plan that in the future. I would love that.
I'd love to. I think you would. The thing is, I'm still learning how to navigate the realm of being high. Like,
really, when did you start smoking?
So like I started smoking cannabis, like because what happened was I did shrooms for the first time when I was 20.
Okay.
And that was a life-changing experience, man, because I did a lot and I had like this like fucking out-of-body experience and astral projection, all this fucking crazy hallucination shit. and it changed my life. It like rewired my brain. I literally had dissociation for like 6 months. Like
Yeah,
I would live.
take. That's so
First of all, again, I'm very right brain creative thinking. So like my brain is already very loosely wired in terms of neural pathways. So it's like, I think I only took like 3.5 grams my first time.
That's a big dose for a first time.
Yeah.
But that'll do it. Okay.
Yeah. So like I did 3.5, and I was taking vitamin C supplements at the same time, which apparently makes it more intense. I'm not sure. I have no clue. But
That's so weird. Okay.
But man, it was a crazy experience. And now, ever since, every time I do cannabis, anything, I get like insane hallucinations. Like I just start tripping like mad. And then I've done DMT twice.
No way. So interesting. Yeah.
So I've done DMT twice. And what would happen is every time I did cannabis and marijuana, I would literally have another mushroom trip as intense. Like I'd be shaking, convulsing. My brain would be like in the 7 circles of hell. Like literally, like I heard the fucking devil speaking to me saying like essentially I was in a time loop, and every time I would be at peace, I would like breathe through the insanity, the chaos, because essentially all hell is chaos. Like at the most intense. Like, because
I suppose that would be the average view of hell. Yeah.
Well, because again, how do you get used to how, like, you could say Auschwitz, right? The Holocaust, that was hell, right?
Yeah, hell on earth.
It's hell on earth for as long as it's chaos. Once you get used, like, the thing is, human beings are adaptive species.
Right.
We can adapt to anything. You know, we can adapt to McDonald's. We can adapt to Auschwitz. You had people that literally were like, okay, I can learn to deal with this. That's why in torture, like with Navy SEALs and stuff, they have to continue to change up the torture because you adapt to torture. Literally. So it's like we're the most adaptive species on the planet. That is literally the reason why we're here, because we're not the strongest. We're literally the most creative, most adaptable. So it's like you can adapt to Auschwitz. So again, how do you make what is hell? Hell is literally just chaos. Or you can even have the other extent of hell, which is like hyper order, which is essentially being a time loop and there being no end to suffering. So it's like I literally was like, I was super stoned, and like the devil was like whispering in my ear, like, the moment you adapt to this, I'm going to switch it on you. And so it's like every time I would adapt to the hell that I was being projected on, it would just switch. And that was insane, because it just shows like the extent of like madness, like what you can handle. You know what I mean?
You know what's so interesting about that, and just in general about tripping, is that everyone always correlates it with hell and with like demons and like because I've had that, dude. I've had like trips like that where I've seen like weird demonic things, and it's like I wonder why there's such a correlation between like tripping and the subject of hell and demons. Because do you see that? Like I've seen that correlation.
Oh yeah,
a lot. Have you seen that a lot too?
Oh, all the time. Well, it's also not only is psychedelics. Well, here's the thing too, is like, you know, it's funny what you focus on, because yeah, you could be like, yeah, psychedelics focus on hell, but want to know what else they focus on heavily?
I could imagine what you're going to say, but what are you going to say?
Heaven.
Right.
So it's like they focus on the duality. You'll see just as many angels as demons.
You know, that's true too, because there's such a it's such a reflective drug that you know it if we're talking about shrooms, right, specifically, because acid's a little different.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've done acid too, but
it's
like,
shrooms. Shrooms has been for me much more self-reflective. Where I look at myself, and I guess now I'm starting to correlate. Dude, this conversation is crazy, because I'm actually like, I'm not even thinking about it being recorded. I'm just thinking about life right now, and I'm thinking about like, you know, maybe the hell and the heaven, and this like stark contrast has something to do with like kind of like the angel and demon on your shoulder and the way you think it yourself. You know, maybe it's a self-reflective thing.
Well, it's also like they say that like good and evil runs through the center of every human heart, right?
Right.
It's like this year, I used to do a lot of projection. I used to hate my father, hate my brother, hate my sister. I used to hate the fucking billionaires of the world. I used to hate the fucking global elite, call them whatever the hell you want. I used to hate a lot of things because I thought I wasn't that. I thought that they were monsters and that I was some perfect person. But the more like this year, especially ever since like kind of COVID, it's like, I don't know what the hell happened this year, but like it's been such a trip of like my mental health. Like I've been like more depressed on and off. That I've been simultaneously the most happy, fulfilled, and content, and the most depressed I've ever been in my life, like this year, other than my suicidal time, like 3 years ago. But it's like, man, I'm really seeing how much of a monster I can be. Like, in just all human beings. Like, you know, we always go like, oh, you know, this person.
Dude,
yeah. Go on.
So bad people out there. It doesn't even make sense how people can be so bad. I've dealt with some horrible people without giving out details because it'll be, you know, a problem. I've dealt with a lawsuit by one of my best friends for ownership of music, just out of nowhere. We can't talk about that anymore other than that. But it was a completely unfair case. And let me tell you, the one thing about the case is they had a lot of money. They know I don't have money. And so what they were doing is they
prolonging the case.
No, not only that. Oh, they did that. But they sued me for something that they wouldn't have won in court. It was completely wrong. And because I could afford to go to court, I had to give it up, had to settle. It's a horrible thing. And this entire time, it was like a best friend, someone I really trusted, did something so horrible. And they had to have known it was horrible, because if to do a case like that on me, and it was just over ownership of music, dude. Ownership of music. They knew I would settle, and so they did it. And that was such a horrible thing in my life. And I was like, how can you do that? How do they sleep at night? Like knowing that they did that. And I have like friends who I had one friend who was like a dealer, and he actually had some people come up and steal his weed, and they put him at gunpoint, and they stole it all because they knew they could get away with it, because in the state that happened, it was illegal. And it was his friends. It was his friends who did that. And because they knew that no one's going to call the cops on. Like, dude, and my point being with all of these examples, and I have a lot more in my life, is just I don't know how people are capable of such horrible things that where sure it benefits you, but man, you sure as hell throw someone else under it. And I don't know how you could ever do that.
Hey, man, I know exactly how they can do that because I've seen myself in that.
Really? You done that to someone?
I've never done that, but I've done a version of that, and we all have. Every time we lie, every time we steal, no matter how big or small, you're doing a fractal version of the big thing. And the fact is, human beings are very dual creatures. It's like, because the thing is, it all comes down to fear, man. It's like, you know, like the thing is, like, make me afraid enough, and I'll become a monster. Right. I will only think about myself, my family, and that's the world that we live in. So it's like, man, it sucks. It sucks when you're betrayed. It sucks when people fuck you over. It sucks, all these things. But it's like, if you really look deep enough, you can see yourself in that act too. And you can see that if you're pushed to a certain limit, you would do the same thing, because it all just comes down to fear. These people are afraid, because you might be like, oh, what is this person afraid of trying to take my music? Well, that person's afraid of being nothing. That person's afraid of what happens if he doesn't take your music. That person's afraid that, oh, this is a banger of a song, and if I don't take that song, then I won't have a banger, and then my life will fall apart. It's like, when you really look at these things, it just comes down to fear. And the thing is, when you realize that on a global scale, why are we fucking destroying the earth? Why are we destroying each other? Why do we fucking commit genocide? Why do we go to war? Like, all of man, the shit I've done to my brother, like the shit I've done to people in my past, I was expelled twice in my life. So it's like, yeah, man, like a lot of people look up to me. They're like, oh man, Anton's a really good guy. I'm like, yeah, I have really good parts of myself, but man, I got to keep myself in check, because I'm one step away from being a fucking monster. You know what I mean? Every single fucking day, I'm making decisions on my channel where if I make one thing, I might be able to get 10,000 more subscribers, or I might be able to get on this show or do this. But it's like I have to sell my integrity. It's not like that isn't like an easy thing. Like I just go, oh yeah, I'll do the right thing. That's easy. No, every single time, there's part of me that wants to take that. But it's like, I just know deep down, first of all, it's like the guilt I'll live with. Dude, I deal with like fucking guilt all the time. Every single day, I'm like, oh man, if only I could do this. You know, it would make my tangible life easier. But my emotional life would suffer. So it's like, yeah, man, it sucks when people fuck you over. But when you actually look at yourself and you actually look at when you've bent your own integrity, when you've actually broken your own rules to yourself, you're like, yeah, I can kind of see that. You know what I mean?
Totally. So would you argue that everyone is close to the edge of break, or would you say that this was a specific case to you? And
I think absolutely everybody is. I think saints are. Why do you think they meditate so long? Why do you think they put themselves in situations where they can flourish? Why do you think human beings do that? It's because we all subconsciously know how close we are from breaking. Because you need to surround yourself with good people, because you know if you surround yourself with shitheads, you'll become a shithead. That is literally how human nature is. So it's like, you know, people can be like, oh, we're fucking monsters, or we're saints. Like, we're neither. We're both. We're all saints and sinners. It's like, literally, why do you think I structure my life so heavily? Why do you think I work so hard to be the best person I can be? Because I want to cultivate that in myself and then create a world around myself where I can flourish, and in turn have other people flourish around me so that I can in turn flourish more. And it's this feedback loop, so that when I bring kids in this world one day, I can bring them into a world that's better than the one we're in right now. Like, that's why I fucking work so hard.
Oh yeah. Same here, man. Oh, I know exactly what you're saying, dude. Working 4 jobs right now. Hopefully I don't have to do that forever, but the whole goal here, and the reason I, you know, in this case had to leave a lunch early to hustle my way here. The reason I'm connecting with everyone every second I have, sending out emails, is because the odds of me having a career doing what I love are very low. And I want to be able to do what I love so that I have the happiness, that I don't become one of those bitter people, that I can eventually make a difference for the family that I have and still be able to have a sustainable career, making the money and be able to give them that. And then just be happy with myself so that I can be a good parent one day too. That's kind of what a lot of people's goals are. Not everyone. I was going to say that's what everyone's goal is. People don't want to be parents, and I respect that too. But, you know, I'm in the same boat, man. We got to hustle, because the odds of doing what we want to do is very low. Like, I would argue this job to make it here is a lot harder than a lot of other jobs. It's the same, dude, everything's business, okay? Everything follows the same ladder that you have to climb, but some are just harder than others, in my opinion.
Well, and at the same time, like, you know, you could look at this like, oh man, it's such a low, you know, percentage to, you know, make this dream a reality. But at the end of the day, dude, it's actually only 50-50. It's either it happens or it doesn't.
What makes you... I'm open to ideas. Why 50?
Yeah, because it either happens or it doesn't.
Happens or it doesn't. That's fair, but the argument.
So the whole thing is, like, you also have to take away, like, because you're looking at like the global population, right? You can be like, okay, in terms of 7 billion people, you know, this percentage of people make it. Cool. You could look at it that way. You can also say, okay, take the 7 billion people, take away all the people that actually want to be musicians, and then put the people that make it to those people. You could be like, okay, cool, that works too. Okay, now you take the people that want to be musicians, and then you get the people that have talent. Okay, right. Then you shave off half of those. You put that's still low. And then you go, okay, the people that now, for some reason, have the talent and have a desire. Okay, then you shave that half off, and then you go from the top. Then you take those people, and then you go with, like, then there's this, like, internal thing. Like, I've known I was going to be successful. Like, I just know, you know what I mean? And then there's like, okay, what is that intangible thing? Like, that's part of it too. So is that playing like a percentage game? Like, maybe I'm a percentage, but when I look at my life, I don't feel like I'm a percentage. I don't feel like I'm this like random percentage that like, oh, Anton's going to make it because 1 in 47,000 people make it and he's one. It's like, no, I'm going to make it because I'm going to make it. I don't know why I'm going to make it, but I'm going to make it. And it's like, so it's like, you almost have to look at it like that too. It's like, how many of the people that you're given this defeatist story, like, oh, one in a certain amount of people make it, right?
Right.
Like, but yeah, how many people, how many of those people, it was kind of like their life path. How many people deserve it? How many people, the fucking universe has this weird way of making synchronicities happen, right? It's like, you look at everybody who like made it, and okay, not everybody, but there's a certain subset of people who make it, and you're like, man, you guys are really similar. There's something that's kind of like, all of them are just like, I just knew it. Like, it was not even a reality, this not happening. Like, we're talking about like, the Hugh Jackmans or like the Zac Efrons and stuff. And even like, it's just like, I don't look at it like, oh man, this is a difficult industry to get in because of all, it's like, fuck the reasons. It's like,
you're
the
right.
reasons.
You know what? I take back, I was looking for a reason for you to convince me, and you've convinced me. You've changed my mind. Dude, my mind is at this point, very flexible. So I agree with you. I would change my argument to, you're right. If we look at it like, instead of a global population, if you look at it as on a person by person basis, it's very different. Absolutely. Yeah. So
those that make it, and those that don't make it, don't make it.
There's no excuses. You're right. Good call, man. It's all manifestation in the end, Yeah. You want whatever you think is going to happen, whatever you make happen, happens. So.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, because the whole thing is like, you made this comment about singing. You're like, half of singing is believing you can sing.
Dude, I'm predicting myself. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so it's like, what the fuck are you saying? Like, yeah, when it comes to singing, it's all about belief. But when it comes to this thing, belief doesn't have a part of it. It's all numbers.
It's no different. You know what? And I think the reason I have that view is, and I thank you for grounding me on this, man, is because, dude, fucking the music industry is so much like, all they give a fuck about is numbers. Like record labels, I've had meetings with some that have been like, you're a good guy, we like your music, but you just don't have the numbers. And quite frankly, that's what I've heard from every label, and that's what I hear from other artists. And meaning that the people who are super fucking talented, who are working their ass off, are not getting the chance for it to happen, all because of numbers, because of statistics. So but you know what? That's the whole music industry, and that's a whole nother conversation of them nailing that into our heads. But just because they say something and nail it into your head does not make it a reality. Just like any news or anything you hear doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It's only true if it's true, right? Not if someone says it.
Well, it's also like, at the same time, that music industry that you're talking about that's indoctrinating people into a certain mindset, that same industry is falling apart.
Oh yeah, because everyone's going indie now because of that exact reason that we're just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like just really simple. It's exceedingly simple when you actually kind of get down to the brass tacks. Like, everybody's like, complaining, like, oh man, I can't make it because like the fucking numbers, man. Like, I'm 1 in 5 million. Who do I think I am? I'm not gonna make it. It's like, yeah, if you don't think you're gonna make it, buddy, you're not gonna fucking make it. Like, you like, people are like, oh man, changed my mind. Like, I'm not gonna make it, but I'm open to you. You're just like, no, you're not open to me changing your mind. You've already made up your mind.
Right.
You just said you're not gonna make it.
Exactly. You know what? You're damn right, man. You bring up a good fucking point. So yeah. I'm with you. It's all, and I've seen it firsthand in my life. I keep getting reminded of it too. Every time I'm like, if I even question it, it slaps me in the face. Like, no, it works. So,
well, it's even part of it. Like, part of why I want to be like fucking mega successful is I just want to tell people it's possible. Like, yeah. Also,
yeah, I felt, man, I want to do the same thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What were you saying also?
Yeah, like the big thing is like, I want to get insanely successful, less famous. I don't really care about fame very much. If anything, I actually would rather be wealthy and not famous. Just because, yeah, it gets more complicated when you're famous, because then you get into that kind of stuff. And again, not saying that has to be the case, but it sometimes is. And then also you look at what kind of people does paparazzi follow. A lot of the time, people with larger than life facades. Because the paparazzi doesn't follow human beings, they follow gods.
Yep.
Like, when they look at when they follow MGK around, it's like, is partially the problem that MGK has turned himself into a god. He's not a human being in the eyes of people. Just look at his fan base. Listen to how people react to the mythology and symbol of MGK. It's not human. People deify you.
Yeah, I think MGK does a decent job, like making himself human. I follow him. I don't know if you like really dig into his like interviews and like.
Well, yeah, he's super down to earth, but it's like there's the part of, like, the thing is MGK probably does one of the best at grounding himself.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help that the industry he's in loves to take snippets. And even if he says, hey guys, like, I'm depressed and I'm suicidal and I'm fucked up, then the media takes that and goes, oh my God, MGK is so powerful and cool that he can admit that he's suicidal and fucked up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the whole culture that they spin things into mythology.
True. And I would say that's not MGK's the way. I don't think that's the way he perceives himself. I think
exactly
that's the way media perceives him.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, a lot of people are like the fact is, if I met MGK, I'd just be like, hey man, what's up? Because again, like, I don't listen to the media.
Yeah,
like,
dude. The whole thing is we're all humans. Like the media in general, like what you're talking about, puts people up on these pedestals and makes them seem like they're different, right, than regular humans. I get what you're saying by all this.
Yeah. So it's like, at the end of the day, like, even when the industry's like, oh, where are your numbers, or like, essentially, in some sense, they're asking you, what's your mythology? Like,
right.
How can we take your image and amplify it? Like, what do they say to Luke Combs? They're like, you're not interesting enough. So there's literally an image part of this, because they're trying to cultivate an image. And again, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, like, smash that thing and be like, I'm trying to ground myself as much as possible. I'm trying to show every jagged edge I can.
Right.
And also, I don't want a rabid fan base. I don't want a rabid fan base that's like, oh my God, Anton Czachor, or like, holy fuck, Arcvision. Like, I want people who are like, oh yeah, Anton's a cool guy.
Yep.
I like Arcvision. You know, it's a good thing. Like, because I feel like that's the direction we're going in anyway. Like, with the independent artist, it's because, like, you know, Joe Rogan helps do that, because he has these artists on for 3 hours, doesn't edit anything, and just gets into, like, what's up. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, Travis Barker is a god until you see him on Joe Rogan. And then you're just like, oh, fuck, he's just a dude.
Just normal chiller. Yeah, dude. I love that interview. That was a good one. Yeah. Dude, Travis Barker, what a chiller, man. What a chiller.
100%. And that's the last thing I'll say about it before I hand it back to you. But, yeah, it's like, that's why I want to, you know, get mega successful. Because, first of all, I want to break the idea of, like, mythology in terms of this kind of thing. And secondly, I want to break the idea that it has to be hard. Like, I feel like there's this, like, idea of, like, you got to get on the grind, you have to hustle. And I don't think that serves anybody well. I think that, because again, like, you know, life is what you make it. Life is all about manifestation. And if you believe this thing is supposed to be an uphill battle that's super difficult, it's going to be an uphill battle that's super difficult. Right? It's like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
like my whole idea throughout this whole thing is like, I'm just going to do it. It's not going to be difficult. And it's not difficult. Like, you know, I've got to 25,000. It's not
difficult. Right. It's not difficult to you. I see what you're saying.
So it's like, yeah, I'm not at 1 million subscribers yet, but even when I get to 1 million, I'll be still in the same mindset of, like, it's not that difficult.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying by the perspective. Now, that's fair. That's fair, man. Honestly, I was like, well, but then I was like, yeah, it just comes back to the way everything's about perspective, man. The way I see the world is very different from the way you see the world. But to me, it's reality. And to you, it's reality. So there is no welcome to reality. I mean, people always talk about reality checks, but reality just depends on the person. So, you know, it's the same thing. And you know what? This is how I've understood manifestation, is it goes back to your reality is whatever you want it to be because of manifestation, because reality is only what you think it is. So whatever you think you are seeing, like, right? Like, assuming we're on this podcast, we see each other. Reality is whatever we want it to be and whatever we want to think it is, because that's what it becomes to us. If that makes any sense. I don't know. It's kind of like...
Oh, it definitely does. And also, if you look at what society is like a collective reality. It's like a collective subjective reality.
It so is, yeah.
Where it's like, you can even look at this as a stock market or like investing. It's like, you know, why is it so easy to impact something on a micro scale in your life? Because you're the only one focusing on it. Why is it so difficult to impact the stock market? Because everybody's focusing on it. You're battling a collective reality.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wow, I love this conversation. This has been one of my favorites because it's like usually I've done a few podcasts before, and every time I do a podcast, it's just the same old questions of like, how'd you get started and what kind of music do you make and where dude, but we're talking about like drugs. We're talking about everything, like shrooms to reality. So you made me think today, dude. I respect the hell out of that and appreciate it.
Yeah. How many podcasts have you been on or interviews?
I've been on. I don't know the exact amount because if I blurted a number, I'd probably be wrong. But I like not too many, so like over 5. But
okay, and tell me what have like, because I find that very curious because obviously I know I'm very unorthodox and I love that about myself.
Yeah, it's good.
But how do you like? What has your experience been on podcasts?
Well, I think it's super important for entrepreneurs and artists that where it's like word of mouth is everything. It's important to hop on as many podcasts as you can so that you can get, more exposure and it's organic because people come across you in an organic way. But other podcasts, just people just asking questions. It's so rehearsed. Dude, I keep forgetting that we're recording. And like when I genuinely asked if we were recording the first time, like, oh fuck, we've been like, all right. But like point being, just doesn't feel like, I think this is how everyone should do interviews. I actually like, I hate interviews like that you find on YouTube for people you're trying to look up where it's like, what is this song about exactly? Like, and I mean, that's interesting, I guess, but if it gets deep into the song, like it felt like a real conversation, that'd be great, but it never does. It feels like
I know what you mean. Like I was always the same way. Like I was always like, because I love music my entire life, right? And I'd be like, oh, this super interesting band, like the friggin' lead singer's like a Buddhist or something. You're like, man, I want to get an interview with him. And then you see an interview with him, and they're like, so where are you born? And like it's like
right. Like they miss the whole point that like if you're an artist, you probably have something interesting to say. So you can really like pick pick that apart. And I mean, I guess if you start with those kind of like, there's like, funneling, it's the funneling technique, right? With questions where you start super broad and you move your way in. I guess that would make sense, but a lot of times they don't. It just stays broad. But
and even like the funneling technique is really interesting too, because part of me like it works objectively. That actually works. But also, I feel like the funneling technique is only needed if you're kind of an insecure person. Because it's like, I've never really needed to use the funneling technique. Just because like, it's just my vibe. Like, it's just like, because the thing is usually I break immediately, I don't even do this consciously, but a lot of time I say something dumb at the beginning of the podcast, I swear, or like I do something very kind of human. And then people just kind of like open up. And it's just like an interesting thing. Where I feel like the funneling technique, a lot of the time it's like a crutch people use because they don't have like a human aura. They don't have like a human, energy field. And people like, because the whole thing about funneling is you're trying to make your interviewee comfortable. It's all about comfortability.
It's starting to make them comfortable and then trying to get into the, more comfortable questions by giving them, something easy to start with.
So it's like, what if you just made them comfortable?
Right. Yeah, it would just by I guess it's, goes back to the whole don't overthink things, dude. Life is so simple if you let it be simple. It's so simple. But it's just so easy to make it complicated,
Yeah, dude. I followed every trick in the book when I started this podcast. I dressed differently. I had a whole bunch of questions. I had funneling techniques. And then about episode actually, it was, I think, episode 20. I fucked up. And I was supposed to I was just getting to know the artist because I had an artist on my podcast. And we were supposed to do like a 15-minute conversation, get to know each other to see if we want to do the podcast. So he came on. The conversation ended up going, and I was recording just because I record everything, just in case any gold nuggets come up and I can use them for later. And so what happened is we ended up recording. The conversation ended up going for an hour, and what happened was at the end of it, he's like, oh man, I'll come on your podcast anytime. And I was like, yo, bro, this is not even the podcast. We're just talking right now. He's like, oh shit, really? I thought this was the podcast. And it was like that light bulb moment. I'm like, fuck, usually these podcasts are a lot more awkward. Why was this one so much fun?
Because it was just talking.
Because we were just talking, and I didn't even know I was doing a podcast.
Smart.
Right? And he didn't either until like it occurred to him. So it was like, oh, yo, there's something here. So ever since that day, I threw away the script. I threw away this. I threw away that. I stopped doing introductions for the podcast. I stopped doing all the shit, and I just hop on and start talking to the guests.
Good
and
for you.
It's just been way better, and I just feel like people need to figure that out. I feel like
they definitely do. That's what I've been wanting out of interviews. So this is good on you, man. This has been, and it is fun, doing this.
Yeah, 100%, man. This was already an hour.
Let's go, dude. I like that. It felt like 20 minutes.
I know. But I actually do. I'll have you on again at a later date. We'll talk more about the song, because I wanted to talk about the song.
Yeah, no, you're good. But dude, this conversation's great, man. I had fun. This is so worth it. So.
And at the same time, like a lot of people, I feel like, they get on a podcast or interview. They're like, I got to plug my thing. I got to plug my thing. I got to plug my thing. It's like, you don't really have to plug your thing.
Oh, now you know.
Because like if you really okay, so let's say just nobody knows you and you're Evan Thomas, you come on my podcast. Like, do you really think people could be like, oh, I'm going to check out this guy's song. If you're like, this is where the song came from. I was bullied in high school and I wrote this song about like, if people don't already know you, they don't give a fuck about what the song's about. Like,
more about getting to know you. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, but if they know you already, they still don't care. Because if they know you already, they check out this podcast and they're like, oh, dude, this Evan guy is really fun, dude. He's a really deep thinker. That's going to be more reason to check out your song than if we spent the hour just dissecting your song before they even hear it.
I agree. Right? Yeah, dude. I didn't really have a plan coming into this. I'm not gonna lie, but I think it goes back into the whole dude. The best thing is just organic things, and without planning things, just going into conversation, dude. We definitely need to do this again, and we need to do can we do our next one high? Can we do that?
Sure. Yeah, we can.
Love that. I don't want to I don't know if you've done that before. If that's out of your comfort zone, I totally understand.
Oh, it's definitely out of my comfort zone. That doesn't mean that I can't do it. It's just out of my comfort zone.
maybe just see if when this gets posted, if people like that idea. Maybe.
Well, it actually, I don't really give a fuck what people think.
Good.
It's not about it.
I was just trying to give you reason, but all right, if you're already sold, do it. Okay.
I'm like, man, I just find that interesting, and it's like, if it's shit, I probably won't even post it.
You don't have
or I might just I'll probably post it when I'm bigger, when I have 100,000 subscribers. Because that's the cool thing is like honestly, could I post it now? Yeah. But the cool thing about I've even noticed to myself is when I had 500 subscribers, I was really insecure, and even at 25,000, I used to freak out if there would be a hitch in the recording or if I said the wrong thing. I'm like, fuck, people are going to hate it. You get to a certain point and you're way more confident. And you're just who cares if there's a hitch? Who cares if there's a problem? Who cares if there's something? You just realize it's not the end of the world. People trust you enough to know that that's not indicative of who you are.
Right. For sure. Yeah, we're all humans, dude. We're all humans, man. Everyone's going to make a mistake, And
that's exactly it.
So anyways, anything else we need to cover today or?
Nothing except, is there anything we didn't talk about that you think you could talk about in 5 minutes that you'd even want to? It's okay if there's nothing.
You know what? I think we save it for the next time because if I don't even want to plug things today. I just came here to vibe with you, bro. So yeah. I'm just happy to talk, have these conversations. We'll if we're gonna do it again, we'll just talk then.
100%, and I just so people have the details.
Okay, yeah.
So you have a new song coming out. Is that the only thing you're working on right now? Is that new single?
No. There's a whole lot. There's a lot. Well, okay. It's way more than 5 minutes of a discussion. But if
just the Cole's notes. Is there anything people need to know, just tangibly, like Cole's notes?
Nah, I think the most important thing is, if we're going to plug something, if we have to, artist name's TX2. I make hip-hop, punk rock. I don't even know what I make. I don't think we should call it a genre. I think that's the best way to do it, is just keep it as I'm an artist. And I'm trying to start a movement. I'm trying to build out a group of people and build out a family of people that become friends online. We actually have a Discord that we started. We'll talk about that another time. For people to just become friends with each other, have like a safe space. And like you were talking about, I want to be successful because I want to prove to people that anyone can do it. Because I've really struggled wondering if I could or not until recently when we pulled everything together. Save it for another time. The other thing is I just know that music has a lot of therapeutic powers. And so I know that if I talk about taboo subjects and people in hurt, that's why my music is a little bit darker. It brings light by making dark music, because basically the people who feel these way have someone else that feels that way too. So it's important that they know that their feelings are not irrelevant. But we can talk about that for next time. Save it for later.
Beautiful. So, okay, so you have a Discord server. Send me a link. I'll plug it in the in the show notes. Also, when is your single coming out?
July 21st is the plan as of now. So that's when we're planning on. The day before a show, I'm playing July 22nd. So
okay.
Yep.
Cool. I'll plug that too. So I think that's pretty much it, right? Your Discord server and your new single. That's kind of what you're focusing on for the next month.
And TikTok. I'm just making TikTok. So if you're an emo, if you like that kind of stuff, follow me on TikTok. Yeah, there's that.
And what is your handle for TikTok?
TX2 official. All of my handles except for Spotify, which is TX2. All of my handles are TX2 official. You can find me there.
Dope. So, and that's that. And all right, man, Evan, thank you very much for coming on today, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. Quick note. Post recording. Are we still recording?
Yeah. Do you want to save it? Is it something you can tell the audience, or something that you want to wait for after?
Dude, I just want to have like a conversation with you post recording. Just
yeah.
Any idea?
Hey, bro, all good. All right, to everyone watching and listening, hopefully you enjoyed this one as much as I did, and I'll see you on the next show. I fucking love you guys. Peace.